Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends and colleagues. Welcome to our universal philosophical community, the White Tower. Today's guest is Dr. Dal Monte, a lecturer right now at Rowan University and Jefferson University. Dr. Dal Monte, welcome once again. We're happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Dimitri, and hi to Sonia as well.
Hello, Mr. Dal Monte. Hello.
Hi, Sonia.
Hi, Dimitris.
It's nice to see you again. Sonia is our contributing educator and is going to help us here with our interview with Dr. Dal Monte. So a few things about Dr. Dal Monte's academic background. He received his doctorate in philosophy from Temple University in 2021. And today we're talking about debates. The interesting point here is that Dr. Dal Monte is also engaged in contemporary debates on free will, including general perspectives that view humans as mechanistic or machines, which challenge the concept of free choice. Dr. Dal Monte is a lecturer right now, and he's also active on Substack with his blog Philosophy, Spirituality, and Culture. And also, he's the author of the textbook for critical thinking and informal classes on logic for undergraduates. And his book is called The Logical Worldview, Skills to Distinguish Fact from Fiction in the Contemporary Information War. So a very good book, Dr. Dal Monte.
Thank you.
I've already read it. And today's subject is debates. Now, as we all know, nowadays, many public debates happen in comment sections, social media threads, and short video clips, rather than formal forums, which should be the case. So public debates, in a sense, are more informal nowadays. And in the case of comment section, these debates quickly become tribal. I mean, people show their preferences and loyalty to a side, according to one's identity, ideology, or a political party. And they don't test their reasoning so much. But on the other hand, there are few cases where more educational debates take place, such as one online radio chat I recently found out on the Meta platform. Is called WAH Online Radio Chat with occasional music, and it is located in Cyprus. And the interesting thing here is that the guy who runs it, Panos, is a very good coordinator, and he tries to keep it serious with structured arguments. And in case there are some exaggerations on behalf of the speakers, he tries to calm them down at all costs, you know. But anyway, when it comes to debates, you start seeing this importance of logic, because logic underwrites our thinking and helps us form our beliefs on crucial issues. But nevertheless, in debates, there are people who take advantage of that mere appearance of wisdom without actually being wise. And as you very well write on your book, according to Aristotle said that for some people, it's better to seem to be wise rather than to be wise without seeming to be. So coming to our first topic, Cartesian doubt. We all know that René Descartes was a French philosopher of the 17th century who doubted almost about everything. He could doubt, for example, his senses, as he could have a vivid dream. He could doubt mathematics or geometrical truths, maybe to this deceptive demon. But we all know his famous quote, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. So once he starts thinking, he believes that whatever he thinks, it must exist. So my question is, could we consider this stage as the beginning of a new era where reason starts to gradually take over doubt, uncertainty, and imagination? And what's your opinion on the current social situation? I mean, in the ways ideas and arguments are developed?
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, there's this comment from Aristotle, which is quite interesting. Some people prefer to seem to be wise. So you have this appearance of wisdom, you have this a pseudo profundity. Some philosophers, they will use these fancy words, highly technical language. Very few can understand it. Maybe they impress certain people. Certain people think, oh, well, this must be very profound. But really, there's no substance to it. But they're getting the social approval. But then the opposite would be people who are truly wise without seeming to be. So it's very interesting that sometimes true wisdom can come across as maybe a kind of foolishness. You seem to be out of step with the crowd, and it can be hard to truly cultivate wisdom because sometimes that can separate you from what most people hold to be true. So we're trying to develop true wisdom through logic, rather than just this superficial style of virtue signaling that just is meant to show that you're part of a certain group and to gain approval. But maybe it's just a false wisdom.
A tribal preference, in other words.
A tribal preference, yeah. So, a virtue signal, I'm just showing, hey, I'm part of this group. I'm one of you. And so I get the approval of being part of that group. But that's not true wisdom. That's just feeling good from social validation. Other people are validating me. I feel like I'm part of the group. If you're truly seeking wisdom, at some point you're going to have to suffer from some alienation. Some people may not think you're wise. People think wisdom can be foolish. That's an interesting thing about life. You see, like someone like Socrates, he believed that he was wise because only he knew that he wasn't wise. So, okay. So you also mentioned this figure Descartes, which is a major figure in philosophy. Oftentimes, the butt of jokes, or nowadays people like to criticize Descartes. Like Heidegger had some famous critiques of Descartes, but he's famous for this method of systematic doubt, where I admire him to an extent, because a lot of our beliefs are just imitation, right? We derive our beliefs through imitating our family, our group of friends. As we become adults, we join a certain kind of social set. We have a certain image we project on social media, and we imitate our beliefs. But he wanted to actually dig deeper and try to find a justification for these beliefs. Are we just products of our society? Do we really know anything? Maybe even the meaning of a word is something that is historically and socially informed. And there's no objective truth here. He wanted to find this foundation of truth, as you said. And so he finds this space of leisure and goes through his beliefs one by one, looking for this point of absolute certainty. And he finds eventually this idea that cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. So the idea is that, okay, I can doubt anything. I can doubt mathematics. I can doubt, there's some reason to doubt even that the idea of an external world, that there's an external world beyond me. I could be in a dream that's happening in my mind. But what I can't doubt is that I'm thinking. So even if I doubt my thinking, I'm still thinking. So there's a circularity there, and so the process stops. And so we can begin with this truth. He actually got it from Augustine. It's actually part of Augustine's thought. It's not original to Descartes. This idea of the cogito ergo sum. Now, is this a revolution of? Is this a revolution in thinking? Yes, because we're trying to base everything on reason. We're trying to find this rational foundation for our beliefs. And if you recall, Descartes tries to go further. He tries to begin from there and rebuild the beliefs. So you have the cogito ergo sum, and then from there, you try to prove that God exists. He uses this argument that God must exist because I have an idea of God. And then from that, we build our belief in our senses. Right? So this is a revolutionary in that he's trying to get a fully rational basis. Now, this is called rationalism. It's not the way people typically think. As human beings, we don't have to prove every single belief. A lot of our beliefs are based upon trust. And this would also inform religious faith. So for a thinker like Aquinas, reason must depend upon faith. If you try to have reason by itself, you're losing your orientation. There's a higher source of truth that reason needs to gain orientation. It's hard for a philosopher to accept this, but without some sort of traditional background, I think that reason can go astray. Reason can lose its way without some sort of grounding in a tradition that comes before.
Of course, and St. Thomas Aquinas differentiated himself from René Descartes, and maybe this helped the theistic evolution to also express its own theory.
You mentioned theistic evolution?
To express its own theory, to develop its own theory.
Yeah. So you have this idea that I bring up in section C here.
Yeah. Later.
And the idea is theistic evolution. And so, this would be a combination of reason and faith.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about it later on. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later on. Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, Sonia, you could go on with the next topic. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We have all heard about the transhumanism and bioconservatism debate. Transhumanism is a philosophical and intellectual movement advocating the use of advanced technologies like AI and envisions a future where human can overcome aging, disease, and mortality, potentiality evolving into a post-human species with radically improved longevity and intelligence. On the other hand, bioconservatism opposes the transhumanist agenda by claiming that humans should remain the way they are uncomfortable with the drastic changes transhumanists envision. There are substantial and accidental changes. Would you like to elaborate on that key difference I mean, what can we reply to transhumanists who always reply, why it is any different from the technological advancements we are familiar with?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. Yeah, this is section B. This debate over transhumanism. Actually, this idea goes back to Dante. Oddly enough, you see this word used by Dante, and then it gets taken up again by a figure. His name is Julian Huxley. This is in the mid 20th century. So the Huxley family is very prominent in science and the intellectual world, the English-speaking world. So Aldous Huxley wrote Brave New World. And Julian Huxley had this idea of transhumanism. He wrote a book, something like New Wineskins for New Wine. And it's a kind of a spin-off of a saying of Jesus, where he says that new wine should not go into old wineskins. Well, Huxley takes this idea and he appropriates it, he changes it to the idea that, so you start with the premise that we are here through a process of evolution. And so human beings are not static. We got here through this process of evolution, natural selection. There were very simple organisms, and then they competed with each other, and things they eventually changed because the more successful went on to reproduce. And so we are here, but we're not static. And so it's perfectly natural that we would take another step, and we would enter into a future where we're actually a new species. It's kind of maybe an arrogant idea, but there are people who believe that they could maybe overcome natural limits, for instance, with aging or with even death, trying to it's a immortality that is imminent immortality, meaning the immortality of the body, not a religious transcendent immortality that's in some other place. And they also try to use pharmaceuticals to induce the state of constant euphoria. We never suffer any kind of pain, even just like mild boredom. So they have all these probably naive views on expanding the human species and entering into a transcendent future. But it's a serious people defend this idea, and we could have a debate, right? So you have these people who are more scared. You mentioned the bioconservative, someone who it's a conservatism, but now most fundamentally about the human body. We want to stay the way we are. There's a human nature that we want to protect. So this is the debate between the transhumanist and the bioconservative, or you could also frame it as an accelerationist. There are accelerationists, people who believe that we should just let AI go without constraint. Just let it propagate itself and innovate. Others say we need to stop it now, get control of it before it gets out of hand, before it develops its own kind of agency. So we have this debate going on, and students are quite interested in this. Now, we have this issue, and actually there's actually been some discussion of this, because there was a document published by the Vatican recently. It's called Quo Vadis? Where are you going? Where are you going, humanity? And the idea is, and there was some discussion of this idea, and people were saying, well, does this mean that I can't, for instance, obtain a surgery. I might need I want to enhance myself. I want to maybe, people get Botox treatments, very popular, or they get they enhance their nose, or they, they have some sort of cosmetic surgery, or, where do you draw the line between modification and then something that would be a full leap into transhumanism? And so this is where I bring in this discussion of Aristotle, a substantial change versus an accidental change. Okay, so we could change ourselves accidentally, meaning that I would change only a property of myself. So I could change my hair color. I could get a haircut. My hair could grow long. I could change my clothing. These are all just properties of me. I changed them without changing me. So I'm still a human being. I still am a part of the same species. I'm the same thing, but I just have changed myself superficially. So this would not be transhumanism. I could I shave my facial hair. This is a accidental change, okay? But a substantial change would be a new substance emerges. So it's a new kind of thing. This is a key distinction here that can help the debate, because a transhumanist will say, well, hey, we already have all these changes. We're using phones. We're talking to people across the planet. That is like an enhancement of being human. So why don't we just go farther? And the bioconservative can say, well, at some point you're having a substantial change where there's a new kind of being that actually exists. And we would not go that far. Or you could say that medicine should only be therapeutic. It should be fixing something, not enhancing. Okay, so these are distinctions that are at play, and logic is contributing these definitions and these terms that can make sense of a debate that would otherwise be kind of an impasse.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Very, very, very nice explanation. There are a lot of issues to be brought to the surface here. Many people don't think about the change of a change, or how much of a change can a change bring to the detriment of the nature of the human being. And that's the crucial issue here to be discussed and debated, if you like.
Exactly.
And that's exactly where these another debate comes into play, the debate between the theistic versus the materialist evolution. Now, on the one hand, we've got this theistic evolution, which believes in God, but at the same time denies that God has created human beings directly, at least. Instead, they believe that God used the processes of evolution to create human beings. So God created the universe in such a way so that Darwinian processes would follow and produce living forms. And on the other hand, we've got the materialistic and scientific worldview, which states that only the chemical processes are responsible for all the human evolution on this planet. But how these chemical processes produce life is yet to be seen, because we're talking about, as you very well stated in your book, we're talking about a blind evolution of matter, and how feasible is it for this evolution of matter to produce any kind of living creature. It's almost impossible. And last but not least, we have the believers of God, who believe that God is the creator both of the universe and human beings. So my question is, where does the truth lie?
Yeah, this is a very interesting debate as well. And so you have this materialist worldview, as you said. We just have a primordial soup, so to speak, and has these chemicals. They're not living, but somehow they organize themselves and they become living. They take on a new. It's a substantial change. They go from non-living to living, and then we have living things, very simple, that become conscious, and then consciousness to intelligence. Okay, so there's a lot of steps here that are very radical, substantial changes. You get something new from what is not there before. It's almost like the effect is greater than the cause. The effect, the final outcome, this, our minds would be greater than the initial cause. Would just be this primordial chemical soup. So, but this is a view that, and I quote the National Academy of Sciences. For those who are studying the aspects of the origin of life, the question no longer seems to be whether life could have originated by chemical processes involving non-biological components, but rather what pathway might have been followed. They're saying clearly life came from just strictly chemical processes, but we just don't know exactly how. I find that a little maybe deceptive there. So you're so sure that it happened, but you still don't know how. So how can you be so sure that it happened? So if you don't have this idea of materialism, then you might be tempted to say, well, there's some sort of agency, a prior power, and this goes back to maybe the pre-Socratics, figures like Anaxagoras, who believed in a mind. Mind is the origin of things. Mind starts everything. Mind is mixing things and sorting things. He didn't believe that mind created things from nothing, but mind is driving the process. So there's mind, and then that would be where we get our minds. So this is the idea of a theistic worldview where you have a mind as the origin of things. A kind of demiurge would be the word, I think. It's a craftsman who sorts things, makes things, and gives order to the cosmos. Okay. Now, you get this idea of theistic evolution, which is a way for some people to, okay, so I respect science, but I also believe in God. And you can believe in both things. So one of the things that I'm examining here implicitly is there a conflict between religion and science? So people have this idea, okay, if I'm scientific, I can't be religious. And that is not true. There's a distinction that has to be made here. And the distinction is a certain very literal reading of the book of Genesis, which says that God directly creates humans. Okay. Now, you could interpret the book more liberally and say, God, yes, is the creator of human beings, but God uses the processes of nature. And so you could have theistic evolution, where God is guiding this process. So it's not strictly a matter of random mutations and competition. You have this idea of theistic evolution. It's a compromise view. I think it's helpful because I do think that the materialistic worldview has too many gaps. Even if you extend the time, so now the world is understood to be billions of years. The process of billions of years, even if you have this process going on for billions of years, I still find it hard to imagine how just some chemicals eventually rose to us. A very sophisticated creature. I like theistic evolution, but this has to be distinguished from a more fundamentalist or literal word for word reading of the Bible, which I don't think is helpful either.
Theistic evolution bridges the gap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So, abortion.
Yeah.
A controversial issue. Two thoughts come to our mind. Protecting the vulnerable life of a fetus not being born versus the autonomy of women who have free will and the choice to do whatever they desire with their own body. We know that it is desirable to view an issue such as this dilemma in terms of universal, objective and formal rules of validity and morality, instead of allowing our emotions to interfere and rule our judgment. But even in that crucial moment, Kant reminds us of the fact that we shall prepare individuals for further knowledge. So, a couple could take responsibility for their actions and is fully aware of the aftermath. How can we act proactively? How can we become more sensitive on that issue, Mr. Dal Monte?
Yeah, thank you, Sonia. So this debate, it's a lot on the minds of a lot of my students because they're young and they could be in these situations themselves. This debate is it's politically very controversial, and it can involve strong emotions, and understandably so. But logic and psychology are different. So the way we feel should not dictate the way we think. Thinking follows these objective rules. And so I think a way to make progress in this debate, there's several ways. First of all, I discussed the idea of a rationalization. So rationalization is not a reason. What happens with rationalization is you have something that you desire first. There's a desire or some sort of something that you want, and then after the fact, you find a reason to explain it. So rather than starting with a reason, you first get what you want, and then you would come up with a reason to explain it, to give it a kind of cover. So we put a veneer of respectability on our behavior through a rationalization. So maybe a lot of the we could examine ourselves. Am I really acting on reasons, or am I first getting what I want and then rationalizing it, saying I am really a good person? I did this because of this. This is why I did this. So that's more psychology, not logic. We discussed that last meeting. The feelings, the beliefs that you bring in your psychology are not logical principles. Okay, so we have to be very careful here with this debate. And this goes for either side. I'm not saying there's one side more or less guilty. You mentioned that there is important values at stake here: autonomy of the woman, and then this vulnerable life, which is still immature, but has a certain status that is different from just an object. Okay, so a couple things we could discuss here. I think some people are too quick. They will have a certain premise and immediately conclude that the action is right or action is wrong. So you hear, for instance, the idea, abortion is a form of murder, therefore it is wrong. Okay, but that is more psychology. It's more someone's passions driving them, because if you think about it, that's not clear. It's because the whole issue is the status of the fetus. We're talking about a being that is in the very early stages. So I mentioned here, is that part of the woman's body, or is it a separate person? We don't see animals as persons. An animal is alive and can feel, but we can eat an animal. And so it's not a person. So I'm not saying this argument is false. It skips over a huge issue, whether the unborn human is a person. So no one is saying we can murder a person. Okay, that would be obviously against the moral law. But so there's this tendency to denigrate the other side, to say, oh, this is a murder. This is clearly murder. You're a bad person. Well, it's not so clear because of this issue of the nature of this early stage of human life. Is this yet a person? And then the other issue I bring up is quite interesting. The abortion debate, if you break it down, has many, many different possible positions. I think there's this tendency to just see two sides, and you become tribalistic. You identify with a certain side, and then you say, okay, I'm going to just show that I'm part of this one side, and then and not this other bad side.
Yeah, this is not good either.
I'm sorry?
This is not good either when you take sides.
Yeah, it's not good. Yeah,
and then start preaching and
yeah, it's so you have many different positions. So number one, I have these three questions here, right? Is the fetus a person? And we could even go back to the embryo. Is the embryo a person? That's a difficult question. I mean, but you could say yes or no to that. Is it morally permissible to abort a fetus? You could say yes or no to that. Is abortion an issue that the government should oversee? And you could say yes or no to that. So you could say things like, you could say no, yes. You could say a fetus is not a person, but still it's not morally permissible to abort a fetus. And then you could also say that the government should involve itself in this issue, or you could say yes, or no. And so that would generate, I guess, I can't do the math right now, but there's not just two positions. You could say yes or no to three questions, and that would be a certain number of positions you could generate. So combinations of yes, no, yes. Maybe I don't know, much more than two, to say the least. And so it's much more subtle than people think it is, this debate. So to have these just two sides, it's very reductive, and it's not a careful exploration of the issue. It kind of shows that people are not interested in a careful exploration. It's more about feeling self-righteous, feeling like I'm better than someone else, because I don't believe in this thing, or I believe in this thing, and so this is psychology, not logic.
That I remember, I once watched a documentary or a debate on that issue, and I remember a doctor saying that from the moment the heart of an embryo beats, this fetus becomes a person. What's your opinion on this? I mean, could that be?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean that's just. I think that there's a confusion of terms there, because an animal would not be a person, right? Like a dog is not a person. A person is it's a very philosophical term. A dog is not a person, but they have a beating heart. You see, so there's the I think there's a confusion of terms there. So you could say, I would say, okay, the heart is beating, therefore it's a human life. It's a potential person. Given a certain trajectory, the fetus will become a person. I think a person would have to have certain intellectual capacities, but just a beating heart, that would not constitute a person. It would not be sufficient for a person, but it could be sufficient for having a basic dignity. So there's a confusion there, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. So before closing, I'd like to make a final thought. There are those people who believe that if we stay with these religious and moral issues when it comes to debates, this is a recipe for disagreement. But on the other hand, there are those that say that if we want mutual respect, we shall actually engage directly with moral and religious convictions rather than leave them aside. So the sure thing is that we definitely need some civic education, some richer democratic debate in the sense of an open debate. And we shall actually engage with these global issues having moral implications and try to defend humanity at all costs. I don't know what you think. The humanistic aspect.
My idea is that
the humanistic aspect, more or less.
Yeah. My idea is that well, these debates are quite. I think they're quite interesting. Okay, and I put this early in the book because I want to get the student to appreciate logic, because logic is very much in play with these debates. So moral, religious questions, they're very powerful. And logic is at work. Errors in logic, confusions about logic, confusions about terms. Logic is very much, it's as Kant says, it's a propadeutic. Is that a Greek origin there? Propadeutic?
Προπαιδευτικά, έτσι δεν είναι, Σόνια?
Yes. Προπαιδευτικός.
Μας προπαιδεύουν.
Okay.
Σόνια, θες να πεις κάτι πάνω σε αυτό?
They educate us before.
In advance.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. This term propadeutic, that's logic is a propadeutic, meaning that before you enter these debates, you have to have a training in logic, because you could start making all these errors and hurting people's feelings, and it just becomes a mess, right? So there should be this training before in logic, careful thinking, and then you can enter these debates.
Great. I mean, today you had the chance to clarify these issues, thanks to Dr. Dal Monte's help. We had the chance to explain and elaborate on the issues of Cartesian doubt, transhumanism, bioconservatism, the theistic and materialist evolution, and last but not least, the debate over abortion.
Thank you
Well,
so
I don't
much.
know, Sonia, if you want to
No.
have any comments.
I was very happy because I participated here with you. The discussion was very interesting.
Thank you very much as well.
I hope we will have the opportunity to do more conversations in the future. I would like to very much.
Yeah, I plan to continue doing this with Dimitris and yourself, and I should talk about this with my students. Talk about the White Tower community, and
we'll be very pleased to also have your students as honored guests next time we meet. It would be great.
That's a good idea. We should take advantage of this resource, and
of course.
But your questions were very good. I think you prepared very well, and it was very interesting. And so thank you to both of you.
Yeah, we do a teamwork, that's for sure, and we would be happy to have you here with us next time, along with your students.
Yeah, it's a good idea. That's something I'll keep in mind.
Okay, thank you very much for thank you both for being here with us today.
Thank you, Dimitris. Thank you, Mr. Dal Monte. See you next time.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Okay, see you next time. Have a nice afternoon.
Bye. Okay. Nice afternoon. Bye.